Let's move on to our fourth and final main topic today. And our fourth and final main topic today gets submitted to us by All Might, Symbol of Peace. I think people have been hearing I'm watching My Hero Academia right now. So All Might, Symbol of Peace writes, "Hey, John and Rob. I hope it's okay to ask a question with a spoiler in it since the episode came out almost 4 days ago. But who do you think are the primary options for the Jedi that might meet Mando and Baby Yoda, that's still his name, damn it, on Tython? I've got a bunch in my head, but I wanted to know who you thought it could be. Thanks." All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. You know, first of all, I think you raise a really interesting question about, is it okay to ask this? One of the biggest battles that always goes around fan communities is the issue of spoilers. And one of the biggest problems and one of the biggest reasons there's a lot of battle over spoilers is because nobody has the same definition of what a spoiler is, right? Everybody has different varying degrees of what constitutes a spoiler, what does not. And then, so therefore you get some people who just in good faith are just acting on what they think is a spoiler or not, and other people don't. I mean, so it's always that. I believe, like I've always said this, when it comes to movies, Rob, I've always said that I feel like you've got to let a movie finish its full theatrical run and then have a little bit of time of when it's been available on home video. If you have not seen a movie by the time it's done its full theatrical run and it's been available to you for a few weeks on home video, then you're clearly not all that interested in the movie and it shouldn't bother you at all. With television though, Rob, I've always had a different thing because television is different. I've always kind of thought like with television, you've got 24 hours, like max, before hearing major story points about what happened in that episode, because there's another episode coming next week.
Right.
There's another episode coming next week. At some point, the fans have to be able to and allowed to openly discuss the events that happen in a show. So that's why, so I still think you got to give it a little bit of a buffer. Don't start revealing major spoiler points and major plot points for about 24 hours. But after that, I think we just have to accept that if you can't watch a show in the first 24 hours, then you've got to exile yourself from social media until you have a chance to catch up, because the fans have got to be able to talk about it. So I'm totally fine that here we are about 4 days later that you're asking a question involving Mandalorian. And with that said, let's actually get into it. So, of course, at the end of one of the things that gets revealed in the last episode of Mandalorian, the Jedi, as it was called, was that Grogu, and yes, to me, damn it, he is also still Baby Yoda. I don't care what they call him. He's still Baby Yoda to me. So they find out that Baby Yoda needs to go to this planet Tython, get into this Jedi temple, where hopefully there's such a connection to the Force that maybe another Jedi will feel that Baby Yoda is there and will come. So it raises a lot of questions, including who could that Jedi that shows up responding to the Baby Yoda Force call throughout the galaxy, call collect, who is that going to be? I think there are a number of options. Option number one, by the way, is nobody. Nobody shows up. That they get there, there's some monsters or bandits that they have to deal with, but at the end of the day, nobody shows up, and so he just continues to go on in search for their people. But if somebody does show up, there are a few options, and I want to go over those with you guys. One of the options, of course, is Luke Skywalker. I mean, theoretically speaking, Luke is out there right now at the beginning stages of trying to reassemble the Jedi Academy, right? He's just at the beginning stages right now of reforming the Jedi Order. That's what he's out there somewhere. So that's possible. Maybe you could get in a Mark Hamill with a little bit of de-aging. Maybe they bring in another actor to play younger Luke, but that's a possibility. I'll tell you right now, I don't want it to be Luke. I want them to keep this separate, even though Luke is my favorite character in the world, but Luke Skywalker is definitely one of the possibilities. Another possibility a lot of people are talking about is Mace Windu. Samuel Jackson, we all know he'd want to come back. I mean, we didn't see him die technically, so there's that. So maybe a Mace Windu shows up. Then we've got some Force Ghost possibilities. A Force Ghost Qui-Gon Jinn. Remember, Liam Neeson made an appearance. Granted, it was via video, but Liam Neeson made an appearance at Star Wars Celebration a couple of years ago to talk about Star Wars and stuff like that. Maybe he's still connected in. Maybe they bring him in as a Force Ghost. Maybe it's Force Ghost Yoda. We've seen that happen a number of times, not to mention in the most recent movies. Maybe it's Force Ghost Obi-Wan. And maybe somehow, some way, this will tie into the upcoming Obi-Wan series. I don't know if that's likely, but maybe it's Force Ghost Obi-Wan. Let's get into the video game world, though. A real interesting possibility here is Cal from Jedi Fallen Order, the video game. I mean, that game basically ends with Cal going, let's go out and find some other Force-sensitive kids, dude. This would clearly fall under that. You've got the actor who modeled the character, so you could bring him in to do it. I think Cal's a possibility. Would I put my money on it? No, but I think it's a strong possibility. It could be Cal. Or what about the more obvious one? The last couple of episodes have been, they've turned Mandalorian into who from Rebels will pop up now kind of show, but we had Bo-Katan, which is great. We had the Ahsoka Tano episode, which was great. Doesn't it stand to reason that maybe Ezra Bridger is the one that comes down and finds them? I would actually put my money on that. I don't think it's a slam dunk 100% sure, not at all, but I think out of any of these options, I think that might be the more likely, even though I wouldn't give it a super high percentage chance. So Ezra Bridger becomes one of the possibilities. But then the final possibility is simply this, which is actually kind of the one I hope they do, which is a character we've never seen of, heard of, or ever met before. Because damn it, isn't that basically what Mandalorian was supposed to be anyway? Expanding the Star Wars universe to give us new stories and new characters. And lately it's been, who's the pop-up character we already know of the week? But right. And I've loved it. I've really enjoyed it. But I think we've got to look at the possibility that, Oogie Von Jovi, Obi-Wan Bon Jovi shows up. Let's just, I don't know, some Force-using Jedi character we have not seen, not met before, and shows up, and maybe it's a new character. So look, we got the options. The first one, nobody shows up. A bunch of Force Ghost characters show up. Well, any one of the Force Ghost characters, Luke, Mace, Cal, Ezra. Rob, there's a lot of options there on the table. If I had to guess, it would be one of them. I'm going to put my guess towards Ezra Bridger maybe showing up. I mean, all signs seem to point to that. The very fact that they mentioned Grand Admiral Thrawn in the last episode, and we know that how Ezra's story ended in Rebels with Grand Admiral Thrawn and how that's connected. We just saw Ahsoka Tano. We just saw Bo-Katan. It is, of course, Dave Filoni that's involved in this. So if I had to pick one, I would guess it's Ezra Bridger. My preference would be an unknown character. Rob, you're looking at that list. Where does your head go about who we might actually see Baby Yoda run into at this temple on Tython? Is it one of these? Could it be some other options I'm not thinking of? No. How do you think this is going to go?
I think, look, the ties to Rebels and Clone Wars are strong with this show. And I like that. I think it's good. I mean, Clone Wars, I know you're not as big a fan of Clone Wars. I really like Clone Wars, especially what they did in the last few seasons. But with Filoni working on it, I think they've made a very interesting, tightly wound continuity. And I really like what they're doing. So I think Ezra is probably, I mean, if I had to put money on it, the problem is he feels like a natural adjunct to everything else they're doing. If we saw if Luke shows up, they'd have to like de-age him or something. And I just feel that what I do like is the Rebels and Clone Wars and now Mandalorian continuity is kind of its own thing. I mean, it's part of the Star Wars universe, but I really like how they're building their own mythology. And I think they're going to continue to do that. And I love the fact that like Grand Admiral Thrawn, who I loved in the Thrawn trilogy, I mean, he was introduced in books, and those books, while the stories might be legends of the first Thrawn trilogy, what they're doing on screen with him in the animated series and now presumably with I don't know, do we know who's playing him?
We don't even know that he's going to be in it physically. It might have just been a name drop for all we know.
He's going to be in it. Come on, dude. Come on.
I'm just saying we don't know. That's the thing. I'm just saying we don't know, right? They also name dropped Yoda, but that doesn't automatically mean Yoda is going to appear. Now, do I think there's a chance Grand Admiral Thrawn shows up actually physically? Of course there's a chance. I mean, you got Lars Mikkelsen out there somewhere, Mads Mikkelsen's brother, who did the voice of the character. in the show. So, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. I'm just saying, as of right now, though, we don't know that he's going to show up.
No, we don't. But when they brought him up, I'm like, and let's face it, Ahsoka Tano's looking for him.
Yes.
You think they're going to let that go? Come on. That was the cliffhanger of that episode. Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn? I lost my shit, to be honest. I'm like, yes. And I just think that they're going to keep going with that continuity. I mean, and I like that. I think it's cool. I don't care how old Katie Sackhoff is as Bo-Katan. I love that whole portrayal. I love them taking down that troop, the cargo ship, whatever you want to call it. I loved all that. I love the Ahsoka Tano episode. For me, it's just, that's the kind of, I wouldn't even call it fan service as much as it's extending the universe they've been building in the animated series for years now. So I feel it's earned. I feel it's the kind of thing that it just broadens what we've already seen. And I think Ezra would be the easiest one. And I think people would like that. It would make people happy.
Only people who watched Rebels. And I think that's one thing that we all lose sight of a lot, is that the majority of people out there who have watched Star Wars and know Star Wars have never watched Rebels. I mean, the reality is a relative small number of people watched Rebels. Not as many people watched Rebels as we seem to think they did. I mean, I watched it all. I'm a big fan of Rebels. But, I mean, so, yeah, it would make some people happy. But I think there would be a lot of people watching Mandalorian who have never even heard the name Ezra Bridger.
But yeah, if they've never heard, but the character's still interesting.
I like the Ezra character very, very much. I think the Ezra character is great.
I agree. There's people who have no idea who Bo-Katan was, and people who have no idea who Ahsoka Tano is. Like, if I were to say to my mom, Darth Vader died, she'd be like, oh. But if I would say to my mom, oh my God, Ahsoka Tano was on this episode of The Mandalorian, my mom would be like, what?
Yeah, my mom too.
Say? Was that in English? The Mandalorian, Ahsoka Tano, what?
So you're looking at this list, though, right now, you're looking at Skywalker, Windu. Let me ask you then, let me get you to put on your analyst hat here. Let me go through these one by one. Give me just roughly, you don't have to do strong mathematics, percentage chances of each one of these characters being the one that shows up. What percentage chance is it that it's Luke Skywalker shows up to you?
20%.
See, I go like 5. Okay. Mace Windu, Samuel Jackson's Mace Windu.
So I'd go 5 on Mace.
Yeah, I go like 6 or 7.
All right.
But I like that. Force Ghost, Qui-Gon Jinn.
Okay. I would go higher for him. I would say let's go 30%, because I wouldn't be surprised if his Force Ghost shows up in the Obi-Wan series. And if they do that, that means they're going to use him a little bit more. Why not throw in a little action on for the Mandalorian? Why not?
Little Liam Neeson in there. All right. What about Force Ghost Yoda?
Maybe I'm going to go higher on Yoda too, because he's already got a mention in the show. So let's put him at 30.
Force Ghost Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, again, I'm going to go higher on that. I would go on that. I'll even go 40, because they're doing an Obi-Wan show.
Right.
So,
all right. From there. Jedi Fallen Order, Cal.
Nope, I'm going to bring that down to 5%.
And of course, then Ezra Bridger.
Yeah, higher. I mean, I think Ezra would be, I'll put him at 40.
That's that's exactly where I was going to put it too. 40% chance as Ezra Bridger.
What about Kyle Katarn from Shadows of the Empire?
I don't see. They've never canonized that, right?
I know. Well, at the time, it sort of was back in the 90s. You know.
It was a loose cannon at the time. All right, guys. Question is for you. And you know what? I was so interested in what you guys thought about this. I made that the topic of today's question of the day. So I got on and put up this poll just before we started the show. And I asked you guys this question. This poll is on the community tab of the YouTube channel, by the way. I asked you guys this question. Question of the day. Which Jedi character is most likely to show up to meet Baby Yoda in the temple? I asked you guys, and now I'm only able to put up 5 options. So I broke it down like this. One option was Luke. 17% of you said Luke Skywalker will show up. 8% of you said Cal. 41% of you guys also think it's going to be Ezra. 22% of you thinks it could be one of the Force ghosts, whether it's Yoda, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, or Anakin. By the way, I didn't put the Anakin as a possible Force ghost either. And then 12% of you said Mace Windu. It had a little over 3,100 of you guys have cast your vote. I'm going to leave that vote up there again. It's on the YouTube channel in the community tab, so we'll leave that there. So guys, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen here? Maybe it will be nobody shows up. Who do you think is going to be? Jump into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys.